Built to Sell. Creating a Business That Can Thrive Without You by John Warrillow is often mistaken for a book about exiting a company. But its true subject is far more important. It is a book about transforming a founder-dependent operation into a transferable asset. Warrillow's central argument is that most entrepreneurs do not actually own businesses. They own jobs disguised as businesses. These jobs may produce substantial income, employ staff, and serve customers, but they possess one fatal flaw. The company cannot survive without the founder. Through the story of Alex Stapleton, Warrillow illustrates how intelligent entrepreneurs unintentionally trap themselves inside organizations that demand their constant attention. Alex owns a successful-looking marketing and design agency. Revenue is flowing, clients are signing contracts, employees are busy, and projects are being delivered. From the outside, everything appears healthy. Internally, however, the business is fragile because every critical function relies on Alex. He personally manages major client relationships, approves creative work, handles difficult negotiations, oversees sales, resolves internal conflicts, and serves as the final decision maker for almost every important issue. Customers request him by name because they believe he is the reason the company delivers quality. Employees depend on him whenever uncertainty arises. The company appears valuable, but its value is inseparable from Alex himself. This is what Warrillow calls the owner's trap. The founder becomes the product, the manager, the rainmaker, the quality control system, and the strategic planner all at once. As a result, growth creates more dependence rather than more freedom. Every new customer requires additional founder attention. Every new employee increases management complexity. Every increase in revenue demands more personal involvement. The entrepreneur gradually becomes trapped inside a machine that cannot function without their daily presence. The financial consequences of this trap are severe. Many founders believe revenue determines business value. In reality, acquirers care far more about transferability than revenue. Imagine two companies generating identical profits. The first operates through documented systems, trained managers, and independent sales processes. The second depends entirely on the founder's relationships and expertise. Although both may earn the same amount of money, the first will command a significantly higher valuation, because a buyer can acquire it with confidence that operations will continue after the founder leaves. The second business contains enormous risk because the departure of the founder may cause customers, employees, and revenue to disappear. Professional buyers therefore discount the value of founder-dependent businesses. In many cases, entrepreneurs discover that companies they spent decades building are worth far less than expected because they never created an organization capable of functioning independently. Warrillow's entire framework is designed to solve this problem by systematically removing founder dependency from every critical aspect of the company. One of the first structural weaknesses Alex confronts involves customer concentration. Like many entrepreneurs, he initially views large clients as a sign of success. A handful of major accounts generate a substantial percentage of company revenue. On the surface, this arrangement appears efficient because managing a few large customers seems easier than serving dozens of smaller ones. However, Warrillow demonstrates why sophisticated buyers view this concentration as dangerous. A common acquisition benchmark is that no single customer should represent more than approximately 15% of total revenue. Once a customer exceeds this threshold, the risk profile of the business changes dramatically. Consider a company generating $2 million annually. If one customer contributes $600,000, losing that relationship instantly removes 30% of revenue. Most businesses cannot absorb such a shock without significant disruption. Payroll obligations remain unchanged, rent remains due, fixed operating expenses continue, cash reserves evaporate quickly. In extreme cases, losing a single client can push an otherwise profitable business into financial distress. Customer concentration also creates negotiating leverage for the client. Large customers often demand discounts, customized services, accelerated delivery schedules, and preferential treatment because they understand the supplier depends on them. Ironically, the largest customers frequently become the least profitable because servicing their demands consumes disproportionate resources. Professional acquirers analyze customer concentration carefully because they are purchasing future cash flows. Revenue generated by a diversified customer base is inherently more stable than revenue concentrated among a few dominant accounts. Stability reduces risk. Reduced risk increases valuation. Therefore, one of the first steps toward building a sellable company involves reducing dependence on individual customers and creating a broader, more balanced revenue base. To guide Alex's transformation, Warlow introduces 3 foundational criteria that determine whether a business can scale and attract buyers. These criteria are teachable, valuable, and repeatable. Together, they form the framework through which every business opportunity should be evaluated. The first criterion, teachable, addresses whether employees can learn to deliver the company's product or service consistently without founder intervention. Most service businesses fail this test because expertise exists primarily in the owner's mind. The founder knows how to solve problems, interact with customers, and maintain quality, but that knowledge remains undocumented. Employees learn through observation rather than formal systems. As a result, performance varies widely between individuals. One employee delivers excellent work while another struggles. Quality becomes unpredictable. Customers receive inconsistent experiences. Scaling becomes difficult because every new hire requires extensive supervision. Warlow argues that teachability emerges when founders convert personal expertise into organizational knowledge. This process begins with documenting every critical activity. Sales conversations become scripts. Customer onboarding becomes a checklist. Service delivery becomes a standardized workflow. Problem resolution becomes a documented procedure. These systems eventually evolve into standard operating procedures. SOPs transform tacit knowledge into explicit knowledge. Instead of relying on memory and intuition, the organization relies on documented processes that can be taught, measured, and improved. Consider a logo design company. Without SOPs, each designer may follow a completely different approach. One conducts extensive market research, another skips research entirely. One presents 5 concepts, another presents 2. Delivery quality varies because no standardized methodology exists. By documenting each phase of the design process, from discovery and research to concept creation, client presentations, revisions, and final delivery, the company creates consistency. Employees become easier to train. Customers receive predictable outcomes. Quality becomes less dependent on individual talent. Most importantly, the company becomes transferable because knowledge resides within the organization rather than inside the founder's head. The second criterion, valuable, focuses on differentiation and pricing power. Warlow argues that many businesses accidentally commoditize themselves by offering too many services. In an attempt to maximize opportunities, entrepreneurs become generalists. They accept any project, pursue every market segment, and constantly customize offerings. While this approach generates revenue, it often weakens positioning. Customers struggle to understand what the company truly specializes in. Competitors appear interchangeable. Price becomes the primary basis for competition. Margin pressure increases. Profitability declines. Buyers dislike commoditized businesses because low margins leave little room for error. Alex's agency initially suffers from this problem. It provides branding, advertising, graphic design, web development, consulting, and numerous other services. Prospective clients perceive the company as another generic marketing agency. Warlow's solution is radical specialization. Instead of offering everything, focus intensely on one specific problem. Specialization creates expertise. Expertise creates authority. Authority supports premium pricing. When a company becomes known as the best provider of a particular solution, customers stop comparing it solely on price. They begin evaluating it based on results and reputation. This shift dramatically improves economics. Higher margins generate stronger profits. Stronger profits increase enterprise value. Buyers pay premium multiples for businesses capable of maintaining pricing power, because such businesses possess competitive advantages that are difficult to replicate. The third criterion, repeatable, addresses predictability. Buyers love predictable revenue because predictable revenue reduces uncertainty. Repeatability means customers purchase a standardized solution delivered through a consistent process.
Every customized project introduces complexity.
Complexity requires additional management attention, specialized staffing, and unique execution plans.
Operational costs increase, while efficiency declines. Repeatable businesses function differently. They solve the same problem repeatedly, using the same process.
This consistency simplifies training, improves forecasting, enhances margins, and strengthens customer expectations. Repeatability also creates opportunities for recurring purchases because customers understand exactly what they are buying. In acquisition markets, predictable businesses command higher valuation multiples because future performance becomes easier to estimate. Armed with the teachable, valuable, and repeatable framework, Alex begins the difficult process of productization. The first phase involves isolating the scalable core asset within his agency. Initially, the company attempts to serve everyone. It offers numerous services, customizes projects extensively, and adapts to every client request. This flexibility feels customer-centric, but creates enormous operational complexity. Each project requires unique planning, pricing, staffing, and execution. Growth becomes increasingly difficult because no two engagements look alike. Under guidance, Alex identifies logo design as the most scalable service within the company. The decision is emotionally challenging because it requires abandoning many profitable activities. Employees worry about reduced opportunities. Existing customers question the strategy. Revenue temporarily declines as non-core services are eliminated. Nevertheless, specialization remains essential. Alex develops a strict 5-step methodology governing every logo project. Each customer follows the same onboarding sequence: discovery process, design framework, presentation structure, and revision cycle. The company begins behaving less like a traditional agency and more like a product company. This shift represents the foundation of scalability because standardized processes enable efficiency, consistency, and transferability. The second phase focuses on fixing the cash flow cycle. Many service businesses experience chronic financial stress because they begin work before receiving payment. Employees require salaries immediately, but customers often delay payment for weeks or months. Growth therefore consumes cash rather than generating it. Alex repeatedly encounters this problem. New projects create revenue on paper, but strain working capital in reality. Warrilow introduces a transformative concept: collect payment up front. At first, the idea appears unrealistic. Most entrepreneurs assume customers will reject prepayment. However, productization changes customer expectations. When a service becomes standardized, clearly defined, and easy to understand, customers become more willing to pay in advance. Alex transitions toward billing 100% upfront before work begins. This single change dramatically improves cash flow. Instead of financing projects with company resources, customers finance growth themselves. Accounts receivable shrink, collection efforts decline, administrative burdens decrease. The business becomes more financially resilient because cash arrives before expenses are incurred. Buyers view strong cash conversion favorably because it reduces risk and demonstrates operational discipline. The third phase involves building a self-sustaining sales team. One of Warrilow's most important insights is that founders must eventually stop selling. This recommendation often surprises entrepreneurs because many built their businesses through personal sales ability. Yet founder-led sales create dependency. If customers buy because of the founder, revenue remains tied to the founder's presence. Buyers view this as a major risk. To solve the problem, Alex hires 2 independent sales representatives rather than 1. The rationale is strategic. 2 salespeople create internal competition, provide comparative performance data, and reduce dependence on any single individual. If one underperforms, the other can continue generating revenue. Compensation plans remain straightforward. Sales representatives earn commissions tied to the sale of the standardized offering. Complexity is intentionally minimized. Because the productized service is easy to understand, training becomes faster, and sales conversations become more consistent. Over time, customers begin purchasing from the company rather than from Alex personally. revenue generation becomes increasingly independent of the founder. This transition significantly increases valuation, because buyers prefer businesses capable of acquiring customers without founder involvement. The fourth phase centers on preparing the business for a liquidity event. Warrilow introduces the 3-month vacation test as a diagnostic tool for measuring founder dependency. The premise is simple. Could the owner leave for 3 months without damaging performance? Most businesses fail immediately, customer issues escalate, employees seek guidance, operational decisions stall, revenue generation slows. Rather than viewing these failures negatively, Warrilow encourages entrepreneurs to treat them as valuable information. Every breakdown reveals a system that requires improvement. Alex gradually builds a management layer capable of handling daily operations. Department heads receive authority to make decisions. Reporting systems provide visibility. Key performance indicators establish accountability. Operational responsibilities become distributed across the organization. As management capabilities strengthen, Alex's involvement declines. The company evolves from founder-managed to professionally managed. This distinction is crucial, because professional buyers are interested in acquiring organizations, not jobs. A company capable of operating independently commands a significantly higher valuation than one dependent on a single individual. The book then shifts toward acquisition mechanics and valuation principles. Warrilow explains that buyers generally fall into 2 categories: strategic buyers and financial buyers. Strategic buyers operate within the same industry and seek synergies. They may acquire a company to expand geographic reach, gain access to customers, eliminate competitors, or strengthen capabilities. Because strategic buyers can often extract additional value through integration, they frequently pay higher prices. For example, a large branding firm acquiring Alex's logo company may eliminate redundant administrative expenses, cross-sell services to existing customers, and leverage established infrastructure. Financial buyers, including private equity firms, evaluate opportunities differently. Their primary focus is generating attractive returns on invested capital. They analyze profitability, recurring revenue, customer concentration, management quality, growth potential, and operational efficiency. Financial buyers care deeply about predictability because predictable cash flows support future exits. Both buyer categories rely heavily on EBITDA multiples when valuing businesses. EBITDA, which stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, serves as a proxy for operating profitability. Businesses with recurring revenue, diversified customers, documented systems, strong management teams, and low founder dependency receive higher multiples. Businesses lacking these characteristics receive lower multiples because buyers perceive greater risk. One of the most misunderstood acquisition structures discussed in the book is the earn-out. An earn-out occurs when a portion of the purchase price depends on future performance after the transaction closes. Imagine a company sold for $10 million. The buyer may pay $7 million upfront and reserve $3 million for future payments contingent on achieving revenue or profit targets. Buyers favor earn-outs because they reduce uncertainty. Sellers often dislike them because they delay financial certainty and prolong involvement. Many founders imagine selling their company will immediately create freedom. Instead, they discover they remain responsible for achieving aggressive performance objectives under new ownership. Earn-outs frequently create tension because incentives become misaligned. Founders seek growth, while buyers focus on integration and risk management. Operational decisions become more complicated. Warrilow therefore argues that entrepreneurs should minimize earn-out exposure whenever possible. The best strategy involves reducing founder dependency before negotiations begin. The more independent the company becomes, the less buyers need the founder after closing. Reduced dependence shortens transition periods and increases the likelihood of receiving a larger portion of the purchase price upfront. The ultimate lesson of Built to Sell is that owner independence should become a strategic objective long before an exit is considered. During the first month of implementation, entrepreneurs should identify every activity requiring personal involvement. Sales calls, customer approvals, pricing decisions, hiring choices, operational reviews, and financial oversight should all be documented. This dependency audit reveals hidden bottlenecks. During the first quarter, processes should be transformed into standard operating procedures.
Customer onboarding, service delivery, employee training, quality assurance, and reporting systems should become standardized.
During the second quarter, the company should eliminate unnecessary complexity by focusing on a narrowly defined, productized offering with clear pricing and consistent deliverables. During the third quarter, independent revenue generation systems should be established through dedicated sales teams and repeatable marketing processes. During the fourth quarter, management infrastructure should be strengthened through delegation, accountability frameworks, performance metrics, and leadership development. By the end of the first year, the founder should increasingly function as an architect rather than an operator. Revenue should flow through systems rather than personal effort. Customer relationships should belong to the organization rather than the founder.
Employees should execute documented processes without constant supervision.
Managers should handle day-to-day decisions independently.
At that point, the business begins transforming from a collection of founder-driven activities into a transferable economic asset.
Warrilow's final insight is both simple and profound. The most valuable companies are not built by making the founder indispensable. They are built by making the founder increasingly unnecessary. Entrepreneurs often believe their value comes from being involved in everything. In reality, business value emerges when systems, people, processes, and products replace founder dependency. A company that survives only because its owner works endlessly is fragile. A company that continues growing while its owner steps away is valuable. That distinction lies at the heart of Built to Sell. The objective is not merely to prepare for a future sale. The objective is to create an organization that functions so effectively without the founder that buyers are willing to pay a premium for the privilege of owning it.